Isingubano yosinda kulendlulaza uyayeli wendlulaza Isingubano yosinda kulesifo esithetha abantu
mina unothembela iphiko opinion ezulu iblomu lebusika nehlobo nonke bathi mntazinyana uza kufana nesitoli ithambo lakho sokuhlabela ngalo inodo zethu ngihamba naye lapha ufokamkhiza umbuzeni ngiyomthatha phasi nzase emkomanzi kuphunga lapho umbuzeni
ngithi noma ungababiza bonke akunendaba yimi lo usibhabhangisile mpiko kumthethomali ndaba zamehlo usabamanga uJojo Mantweni owabo ngoba badala bazomgquba iqolo undanda kowabo simathi ngiyani lo ngiphela ithalente ngoba bazongizonda abasenzisatha la ngiphuma khona ngiphuma emkhomazi esigodini isathe embutweni ngizola uviva ke ntombi yamthande zala uyifuthi imfundo ekasiphopa baphansi amaqata amabili aphulezelana aya next door ayokwenzana next door ngithi ngiphethe indlovukazi yakwandebele madoda inyoni ethe sadlezini yadlezini yathi sadlezini yadlezini ngithi ngeke usasithinta makunde ithe sadlezini yadlezini ulaxmanike loyo
We have crafted Castle Milk Stout to be savored. Simply pour the velvety smooth liquid. Then pause to let the creamy head settle. All that's left to do is to sip the rich textured flavors and enjoy the satisfying taste. Castle Milk Stout. There's a journey in every moment.
So, he came an hour late. And still tries his mabebeza, lovey. It was traffic.
I'm a daughter.
And I said, I don't think so.
A cockroach in my house. I don't think so.
Fast has been in power for over 50 years.
Silly.
Fast, deadly, doom.
What could we learn by looking back on the life of a single pearl? Before it made its way from hand to heart. Before it was crafted through hours of artistry. Before the beaten paths and the roads less traveled. What we might learn is this. The wisdom that in the right hands, anything has the potential to be more. Much more. Let's talk about how to make the most of what you have today. Do great things. Old Mutual.
Gordon's, the universal favorite.
And what about Daisy?
Of course.
And more, please.
The strong and fresh flavor of plenty really goes a long way.
South Africa, you make Castle great.
And to our Castle hero.
It all comes together with a castle.
Every year, around this time, the President of the Republic delivers an important speech.
To finance new job creation initiatives.
The State of the Nation address outlines all the plans that the government has for you for that particular year.
Let me use this opportunity
For an informed perspective on this year's promises, make sure you don't miss my conversation with President Jacob Zuma this Sunday at 18:30 on SABC 1.
Lebitso la gagwe ke Hanyane Maloleka o tswa kwa Limpopo nageng ya Malamulele ke bolela ka mangwena ge se Mr Jampatane wa theletšeng ka ragolo wa gage Jampatane e no ra gore le ge ditsela di tswaletše nna ke tla feta wena ngizwe ke khatla ke ka moggo ka binang ka gona mola kosheng e la bona man
uJampatane insizwa yaphansi Limpopo ithi ndifamba na wena
Mr Jampatane wa bona wena ngizwe ke khatlile ke ka mogweleng gore ngwana lo monnyane o chikintsha sibela le sela ka gona wa bontsha gore o rutiwa setso se sa gabo e sa le monnyane ka ga ke tlhela ke bolela ke re rutang bana ditaola le seye na tso badimo tso mogedi ke nako ela manyami ya gore nna le lena re tlogelaneng e fela le ska bela tshwenyega ka baka la gore bekeng e tlang ka nako ene gona mo SABC wana Mzansi for sure tla be re tswela pele re le fisha ka mmino wa setso ngizwe ba gologolo ba boletse ba re se sa feleng se a hlola a re sepele
Phela ntombi siyahamba manje kade mbukeli lapho ngasekhaya sethemba kakhulu ukuthi uthokozele ukuba nathi sithi ke kabikabe ngayithende senikabusela ngayithende manje siyahamba sithi akhosokana nasicotha sinethemba lokuthi inhlabani ngesakeni siphuma ngensizwa laphana ke madoda insizwa laphana ke umcabangeleni madoda kunye thini insizwa
uthi
Veronica Nkosi yami Veronica sithanda sami ngendlela engithanda ngayo sowusmile phambi kwami ngiyangizwa inhliziyo yami ishaya kancane mntakwethu Ngiyakuthanda Veronica. Uyazi uma ngihamba nawe ngiyaziphenya. Oh Nkosi yami. Uyadela waziyo Nkosi yami sithanda sami ukuthi yini owangifaka yona ngoba kusavumi ngiye ekhaya. Noma monga ngizami swangishiya. Ngoba imali yangibamba emsebenzini. Oh Nkosi yami.
Ngiyathanda sisi wami. Veronica Standa, Veronica darling, Veronica wami. Ngiyathanda sisi wami. Uthando lwakho lungishaya ngaphakathi. Esinhliziyo yami darling, ngishaya kancane. Uthando lwakho darling, lungishaya ngaphakathi. Esinhliziyo yami darling, ngishaya kancane. Ngishaya kancane. Ngishaya kancane. Ngishaya kancane. Emkwathi mntwakuthi ndinencwadi phaa endlini umkami uphatha amafoni awu-4 andiqondi into yokubana yintoni na ingxaki yakhe ingxaki yami ndiyamoyika ndingene ngejazi phaa ndizamxelela xa ndimulile Veronica darling, Veronica Standa, Veronica ngiyathanda sisi wami. Uthando vele kalunaqini alunaqiniso kulo mhlaba. Veronica Standa, Veronica mama, Veronica ngiyathanda sisi wami. Yemngam, awunicelele kakuhle. Yintoni ingxaki yakho? Wayosebenza noma wawuyaqoma wena? Uthando lwakho. Wathula nje uthetha nawe. Wathula nje. Inhliziyo yami darling, ishaya kancane. Ishaya kancane. Ishaya kancane. Ishaya kancane darling. Veronica Standa, Veronica mama, Veronica darling, ngiyabuza ngani. Veronica Standa, Veronica mama, Veronica.
Bicycle with the pipe bomb in it. Whole setup reminded me of something.
Reminded you of Frank Olin.
I didn't say anything about Olin.
You trained at Quantico together.
So the word is he saved your life this morning.
When did you start knocking?
If he hadn't been there, you'd have stepped into a bomb.
You broke in and put this on my desk?
Perhaps you should get to know Mr. Gantry.
Catch the Beast, Tuesday at 10, only on SABC1 Mzansi, for sure.
Good evening and a very warm welcome to this special broadcast brought to you by SABC News. My name is Vuyo Mvogo. Tonight we're talking to President Jacob Zuma following his State of the Nation address on Thursday. Mr. President, thank you very much for agreeing to talk to us and welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
Well, let me start by saying, well, the State of the Nation address was generally well received. And it's the second year in a row that you're having that kind of a feedback. Is there something that you've been doing over the past couple of years differently from the way you've done it before?
Well, firstly, the State of the Nation address is the statement by government on the plan and the programs that the government is going to follow. You will, of course, accept the fact that ever since this administration came, we've been discussing and working out the way government could do things differently, but also what kind of programs that we could really implement. In other words, to put the programs within the parameters where we could be certain that this we can implement. I think we've been saying, how do we move forward? How does government create an enabling environment for all to participate, the private sector, everybody else, so that the country is able to move forward. So it is as a result of the conclusions of the discussions within government. As you know, we always have the Lekgotla, which generally, particularly the General Lekgotla, tends to shape the kind of programs the government is going to be making. So it is, in a sense, a plan that comes out of that, the program of government. I think we have been trying all the time to specifically deal with specific challenges so that we are able to have a program that can be doable.
Would you say that the noticeable change, certainly from where we see it as the public, is coming from either perhaps the way government collates information or the way discussions are conducted or have been conducted over the past couple of years? I'm trying to find that which has made a difference in the way the State of the Nation address has been articulated.
I think it is from both. You will recall that what we have been saying, we needed government to be in a position to coordinate things more, to move away from an emphasis of the government departments and levels of government operating differently. In silos, even if they were doing the right things. But they would not make the necessary impact or be noticeable because they were done differently without coordination. So what we have been trying to do, how do we bring this together? That will involve a discussion. That will involve many of us accepting the fact that we are in one government, not government in different particles, wherein I do my own things in my own way. I think because that has been the debate that has been going on, part of what we did, having gone through a number of Lekgotlas where we discussed work of government, coordination, etc., I specifically felt no matter what you say, out of the discussion, people go back to their cocoons and they do what they would be able to do best. So the coordination, people would have a sense that if it is something there, it's not me, that kind of feeling that you
contributing to a much bigger.
You see, then we've been, in a sense, inculcating a culture that making the coordination, you are in fact at your best rather than you as an individual. But because this has been not an easy one, it's like that in all governments, we then established the PICC, the Presidential Infrastructure Coordinating Commission, particularly if we dealt with the infrastructure as one of the very critical challenges that the country is facing. That then brought the coordination in a manner that it did not depend on individual departments, but it depended on really the presidency participating in leading that process.
Now, of course, there have been those who criticized your address, saying it lacks detail.
Well, people can criticize, and they've got a right to do so. This is a democratic country. I don't think you can have in the world a president who go into the details of programs to implement. Otherwise, the president will be doing the work of the departments. I think what happened at the State of the Nation address is to provide a broader direction, very clear direction, and then put the kind of things that you need to do. Then you have departments which are led by ministers who then come in with the details. As you would know, there will be a debate, for an example, of the State of the Nation address. Even then, the departments are not going to come with all the details, but there's going to be a budget speech that is going to come that must also talk to the State of the Nation address and talk, therefore, to the costing and talk, therefore, to what the departments will do. And each department will then have an opportunity to elaborate on the details, which will then be the details filling in the broader kind of an approach that the State of the Nation address. Those who would say the speech lacks the details should have sat there until 12 or the whole night for me to get the details of all 34 departments. It would be impossible.
Now, the other criticism, of course, is that we have good plans and we're never short of plans, but where we fail is in the implementation.
I think what I've just said talks to the point I've just made. Because if we talk about government with cultures of working in silos, certainly the question of the implementation will vary in terms of which department is capable of doing X, Y, Z. The very fact that we have created the PICC, we have actually emphasized on that question, that the question of implementation is going to be crucial. And I'm sure people might not have noticed what we did as this administration when we came in. For an example, we established a department which we call the Performance Monitoring and Evaluation. I'm sure people didn't realize what we're trying to do. That, in fact, will talk to the issue of implementation, because it says we are going to monitor ourselves in terms of what performance do we do on what is given to us, and we'll continuously evaluate that. So there is nobody who's going to be sitting in a corner not being seen what they're doing. And this time around, because we have this very clear infrastructure program which is being driven from the presidency point of view, in other words, the question of implementation is an issue we've taken into account to say in this way, there is nothing that is going to be left to chance. Everything is going to be done. Therefore, the implementation itself is going to be up there, is going to be the thing that we're going to be saying, have we made progress? Now, I am looking at a point that if, for an example, you talk about the Lekgotla must report, give a scorecard of what has happened since our plan and where we are. And that is going to be also a feature in the State of the Nation address. We are going to be reporting on what we have said we'll do. So the question, therefore, of the implementation is going to be uppermost in our programs.
Very briefly, Mr. President, before we go to a quick ad break, do we have the skills necessary or that will ensure that we implement the infrastructure rollout program that you spoke about on Thursday?
We discussed that matter a great deal as we were getting into this, and we realized that yes, we do, but at times some of our skills are misplaced. So it's going to be the question of really vigorously saying, how do we get the skills that we want? If there are skills that we do not have, we are going to look for them and bring them, because our very clear determination is to implement the plan.
Any specific areas where you think we may have to go outside for those, for specific skills?
Part of which is engineers. Engineers, for an example, some of the engineers are doing the paper pushing in offices instead of being there to deal with things that need engineering. But if they are not enough, because even engineers, they would be of specific disciplines. If there are disciplines that we believe we need more, we'll certainly hunt for them.
We are going to take a quick ad break, and we'll be back right after this short break.
Not in the sun, baby. I told you.
What happened?
Yvonne, heat rash even after applying cooling lotion.
Nice. That'll keep germs cool. Rashes are not only caused by heat, but also by germs on his skin.
So what should I use?
Advanced Lifebuoy Duo Fresh. It protects you from 10 infection-causing germs and keeps skin cool and refreshed. 10 infection-causing germs, 1 advanced protection. Advanced Lifebuoy Duo Fresh.
Fall head over heels this February with savings that'll steal your heart. Like getting up to 120 Rand free airtime over 12 months when you buy an MTN pay-as-you-go starter pack and recharge with 60 Rand or more every month. Or sharing your romantic feelings with somebody special using the ultra-affordable Samsung E1050 for the unbelievably low price of just 99 Rand on MTN pay-as-you-go. Available at selected retail stores.
The 30th of
February has been declared World Radio Day by the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, UNESCO. SABC Radio reaches over 25 million people on a weekly basis through its 18 radio stations positioned to serve all South Africans. Join us as we use this day to raise awareness to the public and media. SABC Radio, celebrating World Radio Day.
Now everyone can be connected with the ATA G2101 for only 99 Rand once off on prepaid, plus you earn free minutes when people call you from any SA mobile network. Available at these stores. Live colorful, live connected. ATA.
Welcome back. You are watching a special broadcast brought to you by SABC News. Tonight we're having a conversation with President Jacob Zuma following his State of the Nation address on Thursday evening. Mr. President, allow me to talk a little bit about jobs. You did talk last year about the Eurozone crisis that was then making it difficult for us to reach the sort of to employ more people. Now, government has also been in discussion with social partners, labor, business, and civil society about addressing this very same problem. Are you making any headway in those conversations?
I think we are making headways. We had a lot of discussions. Firstly, the fact that the previous State of the Nation address, we put the question of the job creation in this country as at the center of everything we're going to be doing. We even went further to put funds aside, which was creating the necessary enabling environment for investors to participate. And there was participation. There has been discussions, for an example, in NETLEC on these matters. I think we've made some headways. That is why we reported that we have been able to create jobs, even under very depressing situation economically in terms of the globe, but we have been able to do so. The infrastructure program is also, in a sense, talking to the question of jobs. In other words, we are no longer saying we're going to create jobs, even going further than saying here is a fund, see what to do with it. We are actually creating the opportunity for the investors to come. Once you have this kind of a program that opens up for investments to come in, we even address the question of how do we deal with the bottlenecks that the investors will complain about, that it is difficult because there are too many things that we've got to deal with. We are addressing that so that we make the question of investors, when they come to invest, to be easy to do business in South Africa. Once that happens, it means you create jobs, therefore you create opportunities of employment, and we are therefore addressing that question in addition to what we've been doing in the past year. We are adding more possibilities for jobs to be created.
But what is it, or what are the sort of things that you're asking for from the social partners? For example, is there something that you're specifically asking labor to do or to consider? Is there something you're specifically asking business to do or consider?
No. What we have been asking is that there should be a discussion between the social partners. Firstly, to understand the environment around which we are operating at this point in time. But of course, the talking to different partners would not be the same, because they don't contribute to the common pool the same thing. The investors in particular become very important, the private sector, because for the workers to do something, there has to be investment. There has to be the creation of jobs. then they come in to deal with those kind of issues. I don't think we could dictate what then should they do, because these are the people who do business together. Because one employs, the other can be an employee. We can't then get in and talk about the conditions. All we are doing is to create this environment where there are more jobs. Once there are more jobs, there are more employment. They then discuss how they handle the situation going forward. I think ours to create environment, but also to ensure that whatever goes on between the two is within the parameters that helps the country to go forward.
Well, business often complains, for example, that the high cost of labor are making it difficult for them to create jobs. What is the government's standpoint on the cost of labor in this country? One, but two, is it a conversation that you're prepared to engage in with labor?
Well, not with labor only. We've got to engage with everybody, because the private sector is going to say, look, the cost of labor is too high, and we will find the workers saying the wages are too low, and the distance between the salaries of the management is very high. The gap is too big. Why is this gap too big? So it's a conversation that is ongoing. And I don't think as government is a conversation that we're going to make a judgment about. What democratic governments did ever since we came in was to deal with a very serious situation of other sectors of the workers were not at all recognized as workers. And therefore you can imagine what was the state of the salaries. And we've therefore said, let us move forward. We are not going to tolerate, for an example, a situation where there are workers who get the kind of slave salary. And therefore that's very important. However, we can't engage in the labor kind of dispute as government. That's a business between business sector and the workers. The perceptions about that issue is the perception that remains with the private sector. And the workers have got their own perceptions. And this is what is a continuous labor issue with the private sector. How do we create better working conditions? And how do the private sector create a situation wherein that kind of thing, there's a flexibility on both? What has been coming very sharply on both sides? Private sector saying the cost of labor, very high. The workers saying, yes, we hear you, but you pay yourselves too high. Now, I don't think the government must get there. Government must create an environment where we are able to make these two discuss this matter and see where it goes. It does concern us, indeed, that the gap is too wide. I think it's a matter that we are going to get into the conversation, certainly, as going forward.
Well, labor, COSATU unions in particular, are concerned about labor brokers, for example. Part of the reason they want to embark on a strike. What is your view? What is government's view on labor brokers?
I think on the labor brokers, we have discussed this point, and I think I did indicate, I alluded to it in my address in Parliament, that in the course of this year, we are going to engage into a discussion to really say what are things that are abusive within the system so that we could deal with them. And we are also going to engage the labor on the matters that they are raising, which makes them to reach a conclusion that, in fact, you need to abolish them. These matters must be discussed. It's one thing when people move from their original positions about whatever demand they put or views they put across, but we are going to really get into a discussion, including the labor brokers themselves. What is it that they do which makes the labor feel very much offended about what they are doing? I think it's a matter that I can't sit here and say, look, this is a final kind of word. It's a matter that we need to engage and really look at the facts on the matter and finally persuade one another to come to a common position.
Let me end this part of our conversation, Mr. President, by going to a youngster, Tulani Ngwenya, who posted on our Facebook saying he's a young BCom graduate. He got 6 distinctions. He didn't get a job. And after a while looking for a job, he then put together a business plan, got an idea that someone bought into, but went to the banks, sought collateral, and that's where he is stuck. And he's been stuck at that point for a very long time. What message of hope do we give to youngsters like those?
Well, I think that is part of the problem that this country faces, that you have people who are graduated but who are unemployed. There are a number of factors that come into this one. For an example, companies these days, no matter what kind of qualifications you have, they need experience. If you don't have experience, they go for somebody who might even have lesser qualifications than you because he has or she has part of the experience they need. And that's why we were trying to open up a conversation at one point as to whether don't we need a bridging kind of a system wherein the new graduates are able to enter the market or the economic activities. Is a conversation that is ongoing. What do you do? But it also comes back to another question. If you are like the young man who has all the qualifications, can think, he does not sit at home, works out a business plan, present it to the bank is looking for a collateral. What do you do? And that's part of the challenge that faces now a very clear sector of the private sector, the banks. What do you do to a person who comes in that way? If a person does not have the possibilities to have a collateral that satisfies the bank, what do you do? These good ideas and this very bright person must just be pushed aside. I think, again, that's a conversation we needed to have, particularly with the banks. These are, in fact, the issues we've been raising over a period. What do you do with a person who comes in with an idea? Some people, and I've met people who complain that at times their ideas are stolen and given to other people because they wouldn't have what they call the security or the collateral. I think it's a matter as a society we need to talk about. How do we create the conditions that will help everybody else? I think from government point of view, what we can say, we are going to take up the matter to the private sector to say these are very clear, challenging, practical difficulties that face South Africans today.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Allow us to pay some bills. We will be back right after this short ad break.
Anything's possible when you shine. Make your dreams come true with Kiwi. Congratulations to our January consumer winner. There's still 5 50,000 Rand monthly prizes, 100,000 Rand grand prize, plus loads of instant airtime up for grabs. Keep entering for a chance to make your dreams come true.
When a man shines his shoes, it's more than his shoes that shine.
SMSela uLotto ku 40001 ukuthola impumela yeLotto kanye neLotto Plus. uLotto ku 40001 enza manje ungathola ama games, ama tones nokunye okuningi. uLotto ku 40001 manje. Ulonwabo.
Here we go, my darlings.
Nutriday is a great way to consume milk. With real fruit pieces, it's irresistible. No wonder it's South Africa's #1 yogurt. Pour, mix, and go. It's that easy in 3 delicious combos of yogurt and cereal. Discover new Nutriday Topper, ready to go.
Hospitalization. Ouch. On your body, your family, and your pocket. Relax. Here's the plan. The Clientele Premium Hospital Plan. We'll pay you up to 5,000 Rand per day you are in hospital to take care of what's important to you while you can't earn an income. SMS Premium to 37128 and we'll call you back.
Thank you.
SMS now. Clientele Life. For you.
Welcome back. You are watching a special conversation we are having with President Jacob Zuma following his State of the Nation address on Thursday. Mr. President, I want to move on to education. In last year's State of the Nation address, you You called on teachers to be in school, in class, and on time. And this year you thanked teacher unions for heeding the call. Does that mean that you are satisfied with the way teachers have conducted themselves over the past year?
Well, firstly, I think when I talked about education, I said there has been some improvement that has been seen in terms of the results, for an example, of the matric results. That says something in terms of how people have been trying to put some effort to education. I thanked the unions, firstly, for supporting that call, because it is important that the unions support the fact that teachers must be in class on time teaching. That is the starting point. Then we are going to the second one. Are they indeed, having accepted that, are they indeed in class on time teaching? That's what I think is the task that faces us now, because we need to ensure that the teachers are indeed in class on time. But what I was thinking, which was very important to thank, is that this important call has been accepted and supported by the unions. To me, that is important. It deserved a thank you to the unions.
So we do not know at this stage, or you haven't had, or you don't have the mechanisms of monitoring their performance, of monitoring whether they are indeed in class on teaching and on time.
We are in the process of doing so. As you would know, I've visited schools and I've dealt with the issues, because there are conditions that are there that I've come across, for an example, wherein the state of the school itself, and therefore which affects the administration and everything, you'll find that is very difficult for certain things to happen. So we are in the process of doing so. I think we'll be in a position to give a categorical answer once we have done a national kind of brush in terms of checking whether this is now happening in every other schools. What we are happy about is that the improvement that we have seen indicates that something is beginning to happen in that direction. And that's why we are therefore thanking them. We are still urging them further that that kind of thing that we have accepted must now be put in practice. We would want to see teachers indeed doing what they have supported.
Well, maybe they think they are doing a good job. For example, Nolwazi Gakuzwayo posted on our Facebook page saying they're doing a good job, they've heeded your call, but their complaint is that they're still earning peanuts and a lot of them are not being promoted.
That's one of the issues we need to get into. Is the paying or the salary of teachers adequate? I think that's an issue we've got to come in if we've prioritized education as one of the major, if not, in fact, an apex kind of priority. Is the remuneration of the teachers at the level? Of course, in the main, that is an issue that is between the teachers and the employer, because you have bargaining chambers, and I would imagine almost on a yearly basis there are negotiations. These must address those kind of issues. But I think it's an issue that we need all of us to take very seriously, that the remuneration of teachers must be adequate to what we demand them to do. But that is a matter to be discussed at the bargaining chamber, I would imagine.
Would you say, Mr. President, that is what has contributed, of course not the only factor, to a statement that you read in Mangawung called a crisis, or referred to as a crisis in education?
I don't think that's the only issue. I think the issue has been the manner in which education has been run historically, really. We've got to correct that. The very fact that even today you talk about teachers who are there, that there has been a problem in that area, which needs to be addressed, which is being addressed, put together. That's what we could have referred to in the ANC statement as a crisis. At a situation wherein it is even difficult to shift those teachers to other areas. That's part of the problem, because we need to have a system that is flexible enough that if we identify a problem, you are able to resolve it. There is no resistance in terms of how do we resolve the problem, so that we can then deal with normal problems Because what I'm just saying to you is abnormal, that in a country we have got people who are not qualified, part of the problem. Because we need to have a system that is flexible enough that if we identify a problem,
square at the door of education authorities to do the right thing, which, among other things, is
get into that and say who is right. I think that would help bring quality in education, and people are resisting it. I'm sure somebody like the head of department will complain, because that impacts on what he or she is
squarely, or at the door of teacher unions, that they are the ones who are making it difficult for education authorities to do the right thing.
There must be a
redeploying teachers.
If at all there was a resistance of redeployment of teachers, a kind of thing that would help bring quality in education, and people are resisting it, I'm sure somebody like the head of department will complain, because that impacts on what defended. That can't be right. So we've got to find a way where we agree to correct the wrong things.
Would that have been your experience, for example, in the case of the Eastern Cape, that you to engage with the people who are, in fact, stumbling blocks?
I think that was part of the elements in the Eastern Cape issue of a union should agree that should be corrected. You can't say a wrong thing is right because I'm a union, I've got to defend it. That can't be right. So we've got to find a way where we agree agreement that the things that are not right are going to be corrected.
And education in the Eastern Cape is very much on the way being resolved.
Absolutely.
Outstanding. Quick break. We'll be back right after this.
SABC 1 brings you the best in Four lovely ladies do comedy in Mzansi style on Mondays.
Kinda sexy.
For your Tuesday night, Dance Live keeps the energy up on Wednesdays as we follow J-Lo and her group of talented contestants. On Thursday night, it's twists, turns, and quick feet. Get a dose of local dance flavor as the competition heats up on Turn It Out.
I can't go on without you.
I'm going to make that a weekly thing.
That's every Friday. You can catch the hilarious international comedy Brothers. We run things Mondays to Fridays at 7 o'clock.
Relate ya khutla bosiu ba laboraro le leng le le leng ho SABC 1. Dumelang, ke a le amohela lapeng la Relate. Lebitso la ka ke Engineer. Relate e thusa malapa a go dula ka thabo le ka tshwarelo le khotso. Ngolle o ntsibise taba ya hao. Ngolle lengwalo kapa email.
Mondays.
Kinda sexy.
Oh, wait a minute. On Tuesdays, Fat Joe gives up.
Fumane le khepeng la Facebook. Relate phidisano mo.
Tuesday night. Dance Live keeps the energy up on Wednesdays as we follow J-Lo and her group of talented contestants. On Thursday night,
brought to you by SABC News. We're sitting down with President Jacob.
It's twists, turns, and quick feet. Get a dose of local dance flavor as the competition heats up on Turn It Out.
I can't go on without you.
I'm going to make that a week.
It's one of the provinces where we have applied Section 100 precisely because of the difficulties that the
Brothers.
I run this thing.
We run things Mondays to Fridays at 7 o'clock only on SABC 1 Mzansi.
Relate ya khutla bosiu ba laboraro le leng le le leng ho SABC 1. Dumelang, ke a le amohela lapeng la Relate. Lebitso la
participated. Because Section 100 really, some people understand it wrongly, that it is taking over the
email kapa fax kapa o re fumane le khepeng la Facebook. Relate phidisano mmoho e ntle.
Section 100 comes when there are difficulties that the province faces, where the national comes in to help the province get out of the difficulties. And this is what I think it has been done. You have 5 departments. It's the first time provinces, for an example, Gauteng. There is also intervention that has been made, as well as the Free State intervention. that has been made. Some people equate this as one and the same thing, and not exactly the same thing. The conditions that led to an intervention being made in a particular way were not exactly the same. But certainly, in Mpumalanga,
that he gave on, take a province like the Eastern Cape. It's not in the same situation as Limpopo, but is in trouble in various ways. Employment is one of them. Now, I noticed in your speech you alluded to various focus areas where you even linking certain provinces up and rolling out infrastructure.
And of course, at the beginning,
there, I didn't hear anything about what happened to was going to, I think, go to the Eastern Cape.
Yeah, well, we did not necessarily specify on one issue, but the infrastructure that we talked about will, in a sense, include those kind of projects. And the Minister of Finance participated. There's an agreement that we are moving forward. I think there is progress that is being made in terms of this very strategic participated. There's an agreement that we are moving forward. I think there is progress that is being made in terms of implementing it, because section energy, so it is part of those kind of discussions that we have done. The province get out of the difficulties, and this is what I think it has been done in Limpopo and attended to. The matter is being attended to. It is, in fact, in a sense, that discussion is being influenced very energy, the fuel in the world, in the global kind of setting, that really makes us even to look at the question of the refineries in a different way.
But 2-3 years ago, the rationale was there as to why we need a refinery. But then beyond that, some of us, because of the poverty of so its proximity to the sea and so on, actually take this project there. And then thereafter, or over the past couple of years, the sort of the issue kind of disappeared. Does that mean that it's back to the drawing board, or the issue is being reviewed? In other words, it's no longer necessarily going to the Eastern Cape.
No. The issue, we didn't cancel the decision.